In an age long ago, the god known as the Greater Will forged the Elden Ring, combining great runes to determine the laws of the lands between. Within the Elden Ring, the runes of order, life, and death, among many others, dictated the laws of the land. Should one remove any of these runes, the consequences would be dire. The Greater Will covered the lands between with its golden light of grace, freely choosing who would receive this gift, guiding the faithful to their destinies. The Greater Will chose a woman known as Marika to become the vessel for the Elden Ring. Despite rumoured to come from the lands of Numen outside the lands between, she was deemed worthy because she exuded the 3 traits necessary for becoming the ruler, according to the Greater Will. The Greater Will decreed 3 requirements in order to become the host of the Elden Ring and ruler of the lands between. Firstly, one must be Empyrean, a race of people to have been born of only one god and not of the procreation between 2 gods or humans. Yet, the ability to self-procreate was rare. The Empyrean must also have a shadow, which is the ruler's protector. Marika was fortunate to have a half-brother, the half-wolf, Malekith. Finally, the Greater Will decreed the ruler must have a consort. Godfrey filled this role for Marika, ensuring she became Queen Marika, the ruler of the lands between, and the vessel for the Elden Ring. The consort Godfrey was bestowed, and first to hold the title of Elden Lord. Together, they had many children. The first and most favoured was Godwyn the Golden. Although not Empyrean, and unable to rule the lands between according to the Greater Will, they were each of them a demigod, and powerful in their own right. Yet, despite all the Greater Will's wisdom and guidance, it did not foresee Marika's true intentions. Severing the Elden Ring, and in doing so, severing a part of herself, Marika removed the rune of death from the Elden Ring. This caused the removal of death from the lands between, and in an attempt to control death, she gave the rune to her brother, Malekith, to forever be its keeper. This severing not only broke the laws of the lands, it also gave life to Radagon, a part of Marika that together are both one entity. Marika saw fit to place Radagon as the leader of her armies, and began to wage bloody wars against all those whose beliefs were opposed to her own. The first of these mighty wars was against the fire giants of the north, who served a different god. During this war, Radagon kills the god of the fire giants, and in an act of desperate vengeance, the fire giants curse Radagon, turning his golden hair red to match their own. Marika took personal insult to this, and in turn uttered the curse, "O trifling giants, mayest thou tend thy flame for eternity," damning them to forever watch over their flames. Leaving the remaining giants to their defeat, Marika ordered Radagon to march south to fight the Carian royal family, who worshipped the moon and saw it equal to the stars. This belief in the moon was heralded as heresy, so Radagon led the Golden Host against both the Carian royal family and the head of the Academy of Raya Lucaria, Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon. However, when Radagon met Rennala on the field of battle, he soon laid down his arms and repented his territorial transgressions, and later became the husband to the Carian Queen. Rennala and Radagon were wed at the Church of Vows, and despite Marika deeming Rennala's sorcery heresy, Radagon studied her sorceress moon magic. Radagon relocated to live with Rennala, and they started a family. They are the parents to Radahn, who later becomes known as General Radahn, Rykard, and Ranni the Witch. Their children, raised to the status of demigods. Yet, Ranni claims to be an Empyrean, which leaves us wondering who her parents really are. Meanwhile, the war with the fire giants continued until Godfrey killed the giant Stormlord. In doing so, Marika now no longer had a use for him. She betrays him by removing his grace, banishing him from the lands between, and in doing so, he becomes the first of the Tarnished. Marika, having learned that Radagon, her other self, can procreate, has no regrets in her dismissal of Godfrey, as upon hearing this news, Radagon returns to the Erdtree capital to become Marika's second husband and claim the title of the second Elden Lord. Marika gives birth to her and Radagon's children, the twins Miquella and Melania, yet both cursed. Miquella, stuck as an eternal child, and Melania, damned to host the scarlet rot inside her own body. However, having been born of one god, they are Marika's first Empyrean offspring. As the years passed, Ranni grows into adolescence, and upon nearing full adulthood, she is chosen by the Two Fingers to become Marika's replacement as the vessel for the Elden Ring. However, Ranni was opposed to the Greater Will and wanted nothing to do with its plans, yet her status as an Empyrean meant she would never be free from the Greater Will's plans for her. Ranni was so opposed to the Greater Will and its plans, she concluded she had but one choice. She had to kill herself. Learning of where the Rune of Death was located, she stole it from Malekith, using it to craft the Black Knives, and during the Night of the Black Knives, she had herself killed. Upon releasing her soul from her body, she went on to possess the body of a doll. However, Ranni was not the only demigod to perish during the Night of the Black Knives. Marika and Godfrey's firstborn and favourite child, Godwyn the Golden, was also murdered. Yet unlike Ranni, whose soul was freed from her body, leaving her body to die, Godwyn's soul was killed, leaving his body a hollow vessel. The death of her favourite child drove Marika into despair. Even the death of Ranni caused her great pain, her bloodline no longer having a suitable heir. Yet knowing the Greater Will plans to have her deposed, and probably killed, during a fit of rage and despair, Marika attempts to revolt against the Greater Will even further, and remain the ruler for eternity. She shatters the Elden Ring. Her actions shattered her own body and spread chaos across the world. This caused the Greater Will to become openly opposed to Marika. Her continued selfish actions and constant manipulation of the Elden Ring suggest she always had a sinister plan of her own. And when Gideon Ofnir saw Marika's true form, he shuddered in fear at the end which should not be. However, Radagon, now known as Radagon of the Golden Order, born of the Elden Ring, has a will of his own. He still aligned himself with the Greater Will, and in an attempt to undo the chaos caused by Marika, Radagon reforges himself back into the Elden Ring, returning himself to Marika's body. His shard returned to the ring, and managed to restore a small amount of order to the world. His actions prevented the complete annihilation of the world. It is believed his great rune was the Shard of Order, the crisscross pattern interlinking all other runes. With Marika and Radagon now sharing one body, the other great runes scattered and possessed by Marika's demigod offspring, the Greater Will was left with no choice but to leave Marika as the ruler of the lands between, and host to the Elden Ring. However, with Radagon now reforged back into Marika's body, there was no longer an Elden Lord. With the Greater Will's desperation growing, its need for someone to repair the shards of the Elden Ring drove the Greater Will to share its grace with the Tarnished. This leads us to the current timeline, where many of the Tarnished are working alongside the Two Fingers in order to reclaim the Great Runes, repair the Elden Ring, and become the Elden Lord.